Give me it, give me it, give me it, give me it, give me it.
Huh?
Give me it, give me it.
Why? What? What? Why? What? Huh? Lethal Company. It got a new update. Yeah, I'm sure you've probably seen it by now. The new Frosty update, version 45, added quite a lot of content, so we're going to cover all of that today. Buckle your seatbelt and put on your programming socks. Let's get into it. The first thing I wanted to touch on in this new update are the two new enemies they added to the game, the first of which being the Nutcracker. The Nutcracker is a holiday-inspired nutcracker. It's literally a nutcracker that has a shotgun and it's possessed by an eye or something like that. Jesus Christ. It's kind of terrifying when it walks around. It does quite a bit of damage when you're up close to it and a smidge less when you're far away from it. It also drops the shotgun, which is incredibly game-breaking if you can manage to kill one. I'll touch more on these shotguns later in the video when I cover all of the items, but just know that you can obtain them now, which is incredible because it's the first ranged weapon in the entire game. How the Nutcracker mechanics work is basically they'll roam around, and if they see you moving, they'll hunt you down and try to shoot you. If you hear one scanning around the area, try not to move, you can't even move your mouse. The second enemy they added to the game is called the Masked. I've heard some people call it the Mimics or the Evil Teammate or whatever you want to call it. I like calling it the Masked because it reminds me of Dream, and oh my god, I want to call that guy a slut. The Masked is the first enemy in the game to be spawned by an item. It can be spawned by one of these two masks, the Comedy or the Tragedy mask, which we'll also touch on later in the video with the items that they added to the game. How the mask possession works is if you have the mask in your hand and you stare at it for too long, it can possess your face and kill you. Then, it'll possess your body and try to kill the rest of your teammates. This is absolutely horrifying. Be careful if you see a teammate wearing a mask and just assume they're dead. I've pretty much only seen these guys on the hard moons, mostly on Titan, but I have seen them spawn occasionally on March. It's just very, very rare. Hey, Editing Aqua here. Just want to make two quick notes. A, my Discord server is out. We've got over 200 members now. Go ahead and hit the link in the description if you want to join it. And B, go ahead and subscribe if you like the content so far. It would mean the absolute world to me. Thank you so much. Back to the video. Next, I wanted to touch on the usable items and the ship items in general that they've added to the game. The two usable items that are purchasable are the spray can and the signal transmitter. To touch on the spray can, it's pretty straightforward. It acts exactly like a spray can would in real life, where when you purchase it, you have to shake it up a little bit in order to spray the paint. It has a limited amount of paint though, and it's mostly just for the funnies. The signal transmitter is a very interesting one that's been added to the game. It essentially acts as a messenger to all of your teammates without having to use a walkie, but it has a 10 character limit. What you do is you enter the new command into the terminal, transmit, followed by a 10 character max message, and then it will send it to all of your teammates without the use of a walkie. This could be incredibly useful if your teammates are avoiding eyeless dogs outside. They've added 3 new decorations to the ship as well, which I absolutely adore. First of which is the goldfish, which is a cute small little guy. Then you have the Pajama Man plush, which is my absolute favorite because it's the closest we'll ever get to a Blahaj. And finally, the welcome mat. Another thing I'll go ahead and touch on that's been added to this update are the items, specifically the loot items. I'm not going to do these in any particular order, I'm basically just going to list them off from the order of which I found them. The first item I found in this update is the whoopee cushion. The whoopee cushion is pretty worthless, but it absolutely weighs nothing and it's an absolute hilarity to use with your teammates. All you have to do is drop it on the ground and step on it. It makes a funny funny moments fart noises. The next item I found in the game are the new flasks. There's 2 of them, the triangle and the round flasks, and they're both substantially heavy at 19 pounds. They're not even worth that much either. I'd recommend just grabbing these if you have the room for them. Another item that's been added to the game, which kind of marks off where the interesting items start coming in, is the homemade flashbang. The homemade flashbang is awesome because it essentially replaces the stun grenade and is free. The only caveat is the fact that it instantly explodes as soon as you pull the pin, meaning that you will always damage yourself, and you're not able to throw it anywhere specific. The only reason why I think it's actually pretty good though is the fact that A, it's free, and B, you can essentially just instantly have a flashbang right on top of you if you're running away from something and you know it's right on top of you. These also weigh 5 pounds and aren't really worth that much at an average amount of 18 credits. Another item that's super interesting and festive in this update is the present, and this one's kind of a huge one. The really interesting thing about the present as an item is the fact that it actually spawns any individual loot item in the game, including both the masks and other arguably more useful loot items in the game as well. The presents essentially make your loot a dice roll. I found 3 in one room one time and found drastically different loot from all of them, ranging from 40 credits to 90 credits. Something else that's really important about the gift box is that it always weighs for 19 pounds, and if you don't end up opening it, it sells for 12 to 26 credits. So I'd always recommend opening it because it can always weigh less and always be worth more. However, this works vice versa as well, so sometimes you'll get screwed over and get a metal sheet or something even worse than 19 pounds and 26 credits out of a gift box. The last 4 items in the game that I'll touch on that have been added are directly linked to the 2 new monsters of the game. These are the 2 types of masks, the shotgun and the shotgun shells. To start with the 2 types of masks, we have the comedy and the tragedy mask, which are worth around the same amount and both weigh 11 pounds. Be careful picking these guys up though, because again, the entire mechanic of the masked enemy is possession, so if you hold these out in your hand for too long, you're in for a wild ride. The second to last item in the game that I'll be covering that's been added is the shotgun. The double barrel shotgun drops from the Nutcracker, as I mentioned before, and is worth a substantial 40 to 90 credits from what I find. However, with this in mind, it can drop decently below 40 credits, and it's one of the most useful items in the game now that it's the first ranged weapon that's been added, so I wouldn't recommend selling these unless you absolutely have nothing else. The shotgun shells take up an entire slot in your inventory and are used to reload the shotgun. They're not worth anything. I tried selling them at the shop, so don't even bother with that. They also don't weigh anything. Basically, the only reason why you want to use this item is to reload your shotgun. The last thing I'll go ahead and add to this video are the significant changes that have been made to Update 45. I'll start with the changes to items, and then I'll go into the changes made to the actual game itself. The most substantial change to an item in Lethal Company is the radar booster, which has been given a flash command. This means that the radar booster can essentially act as an unlimited flashbang now. So on top of the fact that you can ping sounds, you can use it as a camera, and you can use it as a light source, it can now be used as a flashbang. It's kind of an all-in-one gadget now. I definitely recommend buying these. They're one of my favorite items in the game. Other than this item change, there's been a few noticeable balancing changes that Seekers went ahead and added in this update. The first of which being the complete nerf of the rail cheese for the thumpers, spiders, and snare fleas. If you jump up on a rail, you can actually get injured by them still now, which is great. No longer can you jump up on a rail as a solo and avoid them, you kind of just have to run. I haven't checked these for tables or shelves yet on the manor, so if it works the same way, let me know. Another crazy change that's been added to the game that's going to change a lot of metas has been the fall damage change. If you aren't aware yet, before patch 45, you were able to jump from essentially any height and take the same amount of slim damage. Now, you can jump from a significant height and literally die. It scales up with the height as it should now, so don't plan on jumping off of Titan's ledge to easily get to the ship anymore. The last thing that's kind of a silly one that I wanted to mention is the arachnophobia mode. You might have seen this already, but essentially you can replace the spider model with just the word spider, which I find absolutely hilarious. I hope they add something similar in the future for the hoarding bugs and the snare fleas for the people that are scared of those guys as well. And that pretty much wraps up the entire update. It's a really awesome content update that I'm glad to see more of, and I'm excited what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. If you liked this video, be sure to check my Patreon down below and subscribe. The Patreon is if you really feel like supporting me and you had the means to. And yeah, I know it was a short one, but that's pretty much it. That's the end.